Welcome to the House Edge Sports Network, the pulse of youth sports.
Now, the last game of the day was the Bell Warriors versus the South Gloucester Raiders at the Bantam Division. Obviously, for those that don't know, Jesse Card, who hasn't been on the podcast the last few weeks because we wanted to keep him off of it during this playoff run. He's the one of the defensive coaches for that team, and this was a great season for the Bell Warriors, an even better season for the South Gloucester Raiders. They got an excellent coaching staff there at the Raiders. Obviously, Tristano, one of my old coaches, coaching there, and a couple of great guys, Darren Joseph, and some others there that really make that team. Really took that team to the next level, I think. I think their coaching staff was really great. Obviously, they had some extremely talented players. Number 23, Rohan, in the backfield. Obviously, Noah Gauthier. What up, bro? Saying what's up. Noah Gauthier, after the game, was doing his darn thing, yelling at us, saying that, we picked them, bulletin board material. I know all the coaches were talking about. Actually, I did want to talk about that a little bit, I know that last year when I picked that the Eagles would beat the Bel Air Norsemen at the midget division, that the Bel Air guys used my pick as bulletin board material to motivate their guys to prove people wrong. And from what it looked like this year, it looked like the Raiders used my pick and used it as fuel. And I love it. There's nothing I like more than hearing that a group of coaches or a group of players listened to the podcast, heard my predictions, and thought to themselves, I'm going to prove this guy wrong. I love it. I have no dog in this fight. Yes, Jesse Carr is my best friend and my business partner, and obviously I know a lot of the kids on the Bell Warriors, but I know just as many kids on the South Gloucester Raiders, and I know the South Gloucester Raiders had a few Mustangs on there this year. So I had alliances on both sides, and all I ever want to see is a great football game. And I loved hearing the coaches come up to me, and I loved hearing Noah Gauthier talking and saying that, you know what, it really motivated us that you picked the Bell Warriors to win the championship. So I want to say thank you for you guys for listening to the podcast, and I want to say thank you for playing such a great football game. And let's talk about this game a little bit. I think it was a great football game. It wasn't. It was 24-0 was the final score for the Raiders. They shut them out again. That's two games they played this year. That's 24 and 25-0 respectively. No one can argue that the Raiders are not the best team in Bantam NCAFA this year. And I'd put this team up against any team in the last 5 years that I've seen win a NCAFA A-Cup championship. The only other team that I would say was definitely better than this team would be the Myers team with Dimitri at quarterback 4 or 5 years ago. But, if you ask me, this might be one of the deepest, most physical, most well-coached teams that I've seen at Bantam over the last 5 years. They have a great young quarterback who's able to come back and play Bantam next year, from my understanding. They had two great running backs. They had Matthew at wide receiver. They had tons of great players on defense. They just were a deep, complete team. And it didn't matter. The Bell Warriors moved the football on them. It was only 7-0 at the half for the Raiders. The Bell Warriors were moving the ball, but at the end of the day, with 3-down football, you need to sustain a drive, and you need to make sure that you convert first downs. You only get 2 opportunities before you decide to punt, and if you want to go for it, it's only 3 chances. So they weren't able to sustain drives, and in the second half, the defense of the Bell Warriors just could not continue to hold back these Raiders. And it was an unbelievable effort by the Bell Warriors defense. They made an interception. They stopped them on 3rd down. They played physical. They did lots of good things. But at the end of the day, the defense could only hold off for so long. The Bell Warriors offense was unable to, again, get a passing attack going, a consistent passing attack. I do believe from my spot up on the top of the booth, I was able to see that. It's easy for me to see it, but I do think the underneath throws were open. I think that the opportunity for James Keenan and the coaching staff to throw under and try to keep it consistent was there. But unfortunately, I don't think that the settings in the game really allowed them to take advantage of that. But based on the defense, based on the fact that the cornerbacks for the Raiders were such great athletes. We have Kevin Victome, who's one of the best running backs and receivers that I saw at OVFL the last couple of years. playing corner, they didn't. The Warriors did not have a wide receiver that can out athlete that guy. And if they ever try to go deep, there wasn't an opportunity for them to get that. You saw later in the game Kevin Victome with a clinching interception that really put a stamp on the victory. And great special teams plays. Again, with the Bell Warriors, a couple key penalties early on in the game that really took away momentum and gave the Raiders a couple opportunities. I know early in the game there was a roughing the kicker penalty on a punt. It was 3rd and 4 for the Raiders. They decided to punt, and Malik took a penalty. It wasn't a terrible penalty. He went for the ball. He was unable to get it. I thought it should have been a running into the kicker, which still would have given them a first down. There's another 15-yard penalty. The play after that, on that play, that gave them a 30-yard penalty. And that really, really changed the tide of the game. The Bell Warriors could have had an opportunity to get the ball around midfield, maybe even better with a good punt return. But the Raiders kept the ball, drove it down, and scored that first touchdown, which was the only touchdown in the first half. And it was because of penalties that drive continued on. A few more penalties later in the game for the Bell Warriors defense. And at the end of the day, the Raiders were the best team. They deserve to win. And I want to say congratulations to that Bantam team. And like I said, I think it's one of the best Bantam teams I've seen in the last 5 years in the CAFA. And that's really a credit to the great coaches and the great players, all the hard work they put in. And they deserved it. And it was fantastic to win. Obviously, Bell Warriors were not happy about the loss. But a great season nonetheless for them. And I know a lot of those players will be able to keep their head held high and get back at it this year at the OVFL. A lot of these guys I know are going to be training in the offseason. And that was 20-0 victory for the Raiders, and congratulations to them. And that's 3 separate franchises winning 8 Cups today. We had the Bengals win 2 at Tyke and Mosquito. We had the North Gloucester Giants win at Pee Wee. And we had the Raiders win at Bantam. Now, the West was shut out this year. A little bit of East and South action, so that's always nice to see, being a South End guy myself. And it was a great, fantastic day at not the Sportsplex. I want to say the Sportsplex. It was actually at Millennium Field out in Orleans. It was a great, fantastic day. The weather was incredible. The only thing I wanted to mention, actually, now that we're talking about how great that day was the decision by the city to limit the speakers. We're based on, I guess there was some complaints from the residents of Orleans that the noise was a little loud with the speakers, just calling first down and all that type of stuff and touchdown. So the city actually came in and limited the speakers, but they were limited so much that you couldn't actually hear the people talking on the microphone, which was, it didn't ruin the day by any stretch of the imagination, but we were really excited to bring in some professional voice talent who was unable to put his skills to work, and it was just disappointing. Another decision by the city that baffled us, as always. Doesn't surprise me, but nonetheless, we called the necessary people. We got someone to come in, so shout out to that nice gentleman, I forget his name, came in and fixed it, and we were able to get the speaker working for the last game, which really added a little bit of flavor, I think, for the last game. And really happy that he came and fixed that problem for us. But at the end of the day, these are the types of things that we're fighting against, right? We're fighting against people complaining about kids having a great time one day a year and one weekend a year, and still people complaining not letting kids play. A lot of parents were very disappointed with the decision. And I know that there will be a few letters being written or emails being sent to their constituents and talking about how let's help start promoting sport instead of trying to stifle it. But again, discussion for another day. If you guys have any questions about that, as always, feel free to contact Jesse or I, and we can put you in contact with the people from the CAFA, who will then forward it to the people in the city, so we can make sure that this type of stuff doesn't happen as much as it does. And the last thing I want to say before we wrap up this podcast is just reminding everybody that this Friday, November 11th, Remembrance Day, 8 p.m., Bell Sensplex, we have the Combine. The EFC 3 is happening. It's going to be fantastic. If you haven't registered, go register now. This is going to be a fantastic event. If you're serious about playing football, you want to put your skills up against the other guys, meet some coaches, get some footage of you, test yourself. Make sure you guys go there. You can go to hesn.co, become a member, and register for this combine. It's going to be fantastic. I encourage anybody who really wants to play football at the next level to come to this combine. And by next level, I mean if you're Pee Wee and want to go to Bantam, if you're Bantam and want to do OVFL, if you're OVFL and want to do Junior, or if you want to go CIS, NCAA, whatever you want to do, whatever it is that you want to do, come out to the combine. It's going to be fantastic. That's November 11th, 8 p.m. this Friday at Bell Sensplex in Canada. It's going to be incredible. Again, if you have any questions, contact Jesse or I through social media. And that's really about it, guys. I want to say thank you to everybody who tuned in to this podcast. Make sure when you guys listen to this podcast, you share it with all your friends. You tell them that I played in that game. That was me. We're going to be back next week talking about the combine, some of the best numbers, some of the best times that we see. We're going to be broadcasting that combine live on YouTube Friday night, so make sure you guys tune into that. And if anybody has any feedback, comments, concerns, quarrels, quagmires, make sure that you guys reach out to us through social media, comment section on YouTube. You can email us directly. Whatever it is you guys have to say, we want to hear it. If you haven't registered for the combine, do so. Thank you once again. I'm Tyler McLaren. Peace.
Welcome to the House Edge Sports Network, the pulse of youth sports.